I actually met at a Super Saturday, one of the first Super Saturdays I went to in Orlando. And then I found her, I don't know, on maybe a summer trip or something, but she's in my team page, so she hears me rant all the time. So, okay, before I get started, I just want to share a little bit of my background with you because I think it's very important to know where people have come from and what their stories are and what you can overcome if you so choose to, because I've had a lot to overcome and I still have a lot to overcome. So, okay, here you go. He's life with a three-nager. Hold on a second.
That's so funny.
Yeah, we're in potty training woes right now. Good times. Okay, so a little bit about me and my background. I grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I lost my father to heart disease when I was 12 years old. He was 53, dropped dead unexpectedly. And, you know, it was a very hard thing for me to deal with because I didn't. Good job. I didn't really know how to process emotions. And, you know, I started to kind of turn inwards with what I was, the feelings I was battling. And in the next couple years, I developed an eating disorder. So by my freshman year of high school, I was an athlete. I was a synchronized swimmer. I was on a field hockey team. I played lacrosse. I did competitive swimming. I got pulled off of all my sports teams. I was put into, you know, rehab in Boston, a day rehab to learn how to eat again, to have a proper relationship with food, to work through my underlying emotions that were causing those habits. You know, and I was doing really well again. And when I was 16, I was in a severe boating accident. I was in a freak accident, thrown out of a boat, run over, and hit by the propeller, which removed the top half of my left pelvis. You know, my mom thought they were going to have to bury me, and by the grace of, I don't know why, I'm still here. A lot of blood transfusions. I've had 12 surgeries now. You know, they told me I may never walk again when I was 16, and had, you know, being an athlete, it crushed me because being an athlete was my outlet to deal with emotions. It was what made me feel good. It was what made me feel strong and happy, and helped me cope. And it still is to this day. So, you know, that started even more so than what I had dealt with overcoming an eating disorder, all these feelings of self-worth issues and self-confidence issues because I have a lot of scars and I had a dent in my body. And, you know, it just kind of fueled those negative self-talk that we all have. So fast forward, by the time I got to college, you know, I was still going through brunt of surgeries, and I would start a semester and I would have to drop out and quit and start again. And by the time I was in my, you know, early mid-20s, I had been going to college for 7 years and still didn't have my degree. And I just felt like a failure. I kind of had lost my ability to dream. I had, you know, kind of lost my ability to set goals. I had just kind of lost myself as a person in general. And it was easy to justify because I had been through a lot in my life. So I started making some not such great decisions and hanging out with people who really didn't care about me or my future or my choices or my well-being. And, you know, fast forward again, here I was at 25, unexpectedly pregnant by a guy that I had only known for 3 months. And it was a major wake-up call to me that if I didn't find my self-worth, if I didn't work on me, that I was not going to be able to be the mom that I wanted to be. I was not ever going to find happiness from somebody else or from somewhere else unless I found it within. So when I found out I was pregnant, I moved across country to try and make the relationship work. I moved from Florida to Philly. Against all my family's wishes. You know, everybody thought I was crazy, only to find out that my son's dad was a severe alcoholic, and I was in a very abusive relationship. I was in denial. I cut out everybody from my life. I, you know, kind of spiraled again down to the lowest point I'd ever been in my life. And when my son was 5 months old, I decided at 4:00 one morning after, I had dealt with a huge fight and a drunken rage that I was going to leave and I was not going to look back again. And this would be the last time that I would have to pick up the broken pieces that I had created for myself. And it was a huge turning point in my life, because it was like all these years, all these things that had happened to me or that I had caused to happen to me, I finally had this little boy that was counting on me to look up to me for a role model and as a leader, and what kind of a person and what kind of a character to have. And that hit me really hard. And so how I found Beachbody, a girl I had gone to high school with, she, was a coach, and she was on Facebook, and she wasn't too heavily into it yet, but I saw her post once in a while, and she reached out to me and just kind of connected again. And I talked to her about how I didn't have energy and how I was a single mom and how I was tired and my nutrition was bad. And, I had gained 60 pounds with my son, and, I was the biggest I'd ever been in my life, and weight had never been a huge struggle for me. So it was a no-brainer for me to start a journey of my own. When I decided to sign up, she got me on a 3-way call with her upline. And I don't know what they said, but they presented the coaching opportunity to me. And I was like, sign me up. Because at that point, I was looking at having to work 2 jobs, putting my son in full-time daycare, and going back to school at night to finish the last year of my degree, because I had dropped out of my last year of college when I got pregnant and moved across country. So it was like I was at a crossroads. And I had to make a decision that if I was going to do this, I was going to do it full force, and I was going to give myself no plan B, and I was going to make it happen, because I saw this opportunity for what it could be. And I feel like what a lot of coaches make the mistake of is that you don't look at this opportunity for all that it can be for you. Maybe you think, well, others can do that, but maybe I can't, or that's going to take too long and it's impossible, or I don't have the guts, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not whatever enough. I knew absolutely nothing when I started coaching. I had a very small social media network. I didn't post a lot on Facebook. I had probably the worst self-confidence ever. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to grow into somebody who can run a business like this. And I poured myself into learning. I poured myself into personal development. I poured myself into showing up for my journey every day. And the biggest thing is that you need a very strong emotional why. You need something that literally can bring you to your knees when you think about giving up. And that reason, that why you have, is going to draw you back and make you refocus on why you're here and why you started. Because the reality is, everybody comes into this business for change. Nobody comes here, and they're healthy and they're happy and they're fit and they're financially stable, because if you were, you wouldn't be a part of this opportunity, right? So I think a lot of people come in and they have all these dreams and these goals, and they see that it takes time and it takes consistency and it takes effort and it takes perseverance and it takes you changing yourself as a person. And all those big dreams and those goals, they start to kind of fade away. And if you have that strong why, I told my son, since he was about a year old when I started coaching, every single night, baby, I'm going to build us a dream life. Because I knew as a single mom that the hard of choosing to do it any way other than this was going to be 10 times harder than the dedication and the consistency and the growth that I had to do on myself to make this business work. And that was not a hard that I wanted to have, because as a single mom, my son wouldn't have had a parent figure in his life if I didn't choose to do this opportunity. And I wasn't okay with that. So aside from having a why, the next thing I want to encourage you guys to do is, if you haven't drawn a line in the sand that you are going to go all in with this, balls to the wall, no plan B, you are basically giving yourself the opportunity to fail. Because when you give yourself a plan B, or you're not really sure, or you haven't drawn a line in the sand, there's always a little voice in the back of your head that says, well, if this doesn't work out, I can do X, Y, or Z. You have to make that decision that no matter what, you're going to be successful. No matter who comes and goes, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how long it takes, you're going to show up and you're going to make it happen and commit to that promise. The next thing is that you have to have a long-term vision, because if you don't have a vision, it's kind of like you're shooting a basketball hoop and you don't have a hoop to shoot at. You have no target to aim for if you don't have what you're working towards. Now, when I started, I made a vision board and I put all these things on it. I want to buy a home. I wanted to be a full-time coach, making a full-time income. I wanted to be an elite coach, have an elite team. Everything that was on my original vision board, except for 2 things, I accomplished in under 2 years. And that is because I had a clear vision of exactly where I wanted to go. And that's what you have to have, because otherwise you're going to be wandering around, wasting time, not being effective, and you're not going to have a driving force that's going to push you to get there. The next thing I always like to mention is that this business takes sacrifice. I don't care if you want to do this part-time as a hobby coach or as a full-time coach. There is going to be some things in your life that you're going to have to sacrifice to make this happen, because you are adding on being a business owner to what your current life is. For me, the first things to go were watching TV at night. Instead of watching garbage Netflix, I picked up a personal development book. Instead of, Kelly, can you mute the lines? Yeah. Instead of, scrolling on Facebook for hours a day, I would use that time to reach out and build relationships, build friendships, think of things that I could post on social media. You have to find a balance for yourself, whatever that is, because for me as a single mom, having no help, working another job from home when I started this, I knew that if I didn't make sacrifices, it wasn't going to happen. And that meant a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, a lot of coffee, and a lot of believing in something I couldn't yet see. And, it has to be a balance that you find for you, because I've had a lot of people say to me, you're going to go crazy. You need to set business hours. You need to do this. You need to do that. And you know what caused me so much anxiety for a long time was I tried to do it like everybody else was doing it. And that didn't work for me. And when I stepped back and I thought, when I went full time, in a little under a year with coaching, I decided that I was going to find my balance through the throes of life, the ebbs and flows. Things change, kids grow, schedules change, sleep habits change. Whatever changes, you have to evolve with it. You have to evolve with your schedule and find that balance wherever you are, whatever is on your plate, and make this business a priority no matter what. This business success depends on one thing and one thing only, and that is you. It doesn't depend on your team. It doesn't depend on your upline. It doesn't depend on anybody else showing up except for you. When you take all the blame off the plate of why you're not where you want to be right now, or maybe you haven't built a team yet, or you struggle bringing coaches on, don't use it as I feel bad for myself. Use it as an opportunity for you to grow, for you to better yourself in whatever area it may be, for you to have the courage to reach out to somebody and ask them, how do I do what you do? Because more often than not, people are more than happy to help you. I am more than happy to speak on team calls because I am no different than anybody else. I may have an elite team that ended 153 last year in the company, but I am just a normal girl that's at home in yoga pants with no makeup and a crazy little 3-year-old every single day. And I show up to my business, and that's it. So I would encourage you to find a balance that works for your life and your schedule, but make this business a priority if you want this. The next thing is doing things before you're ready. I had a corporate trainer at the end of the year, and her saying was production over perfection. And that was impactful to me because I was always somebody that was like, oh, I'm going to make this training, and it has to be perfect. And in reality, my first trainings I made, they sucked. The first team calls I ran, they sucked. Like everything, the first things I did, they sucked, but you never will progress if you don't do it before you're ready and fail forward and learn on your way down. Because if you're always waiting for the perfect time or the perfect way to do it, or you're learning all these things, but you're never implementing it and taking action with it, you're never going to go anywhere. You're going to stay exactly where you are right now. So have the courage to do things before you're ready. You know, there's always something in the back of a coach's mind that you're thinking about that you need to do, but you're really scared to do. Go do that thing. Go do it this week. Go do it before the end of this month and watch how much you change as a person and your confidence grows because you faced a fear and you did something that you thought maybe you couldn't do. The next thing is your personal development. And I'm sure that you hear this preached all the time, but personal development has completely changed me as a person. I was lost. I was broken. I was very weak. I was very negative when I started this business, but I desired change. And if you can change your mind and you can change your thoughts, you can change your actions, you can change who you are. And the beauty of this business is that no matter where you came from, no matter who you are right now, you have the opportunity to literally recreate yourself and who you want to be. And I always tell my team, the way that I look at goal setting is that if your goals aren't big enough and they don't really scare the shit out of you, they're not good enough goals. Because you should be setting goals that you have to grow into the person that can achieve them and literally stretch yourself to be somebody that can accomplish goals like that. Because if you set goals and you play it small, you're never going to find your potential and find who you're meant to be and find your purpose. The next thing is with goal setting, like I just mentioned, I want you to think about it like this. There is no goal that is too selfish in this business. Whether you want to be a 15-star diamond, you want to be in the Millionaires Club, you want to make $5,000 a week, you want to whatever. There's no goals that are too big in this business. Why? Because you have to focus on serving others to make those a reality. Whether it's serving your challengers, serving your coaches, helping your team, you have to serve others to get to those goals. So don't be afraid to set big goals for yourself as long as you are willing to commit to do the work to help people to get there. The next thing is the Slight Edge mentality. And if you haven't read The Slight Edge, I would highly recommend that book. The first time I read it, I kind of found it boring. But when I went back a year later and I read it, after applying it for that whole year, it just hit me so hard that success is nothing more than those simple, consistent, almost insignificant things that you do every day that nobody can see but you, the underground of your business. Are you showing up every day? Are you doing your vital behaviors? Are you doing your workouts? Are you drinking your shake? Are you tracking your power hours? I, for over 2 years now, have tracked my power hour on a board, just like this, every single day. And I still do it. Because if you're not tracking your business activity and what you're doing, you have no idea where you can improve, and you have no idea if you're actually doing what you need to be doing to move your business forward. And also, when you do what you're supposed to do, you can pat yourself on the back at night and go to sleep knowing that you did what you needed to do to move your business forward, even if nothing came from it that day. You know, you didn't sign somebody up, you didn't have a new coach, whatever. It still matters that you showed up every day. The next thing is something that I like to ask myself every day, and I have it above my desk where I look at it every day, and it says, do my actions match my intentions? I, by nature, am a procrastinator. I, by nature, was somebody who always had great intentions but no follow-through. And I had to literally relearn how to be somebody that shows up with action behind the intentions that I have, because good intentions with no action mean nothing. People don't care what you say you're going to do. People don't care about the goals you say you're going to hit or you want to hit. They care about seeing you show up and do the work and, you know, sharing how you're getting there and then getting there and setting new goals and progressing. It's like the building blocks. You have to take those small little actions every single day to keep yourself moving forward. And I want you to think about it like this. Momentum in this business is earned. It is not something that you're ever going to get. You're never going to get momentum where you're seeing your team start to thrive, and you're bringing on coaches, and you have challengers, and you have people that are curious about what you're doing and following you on Facebook, unless you show up and you be consistent long enough to earn that momentum. Momentum is not just something that you're going to get from showing up for a week or 2 months or 6 months even. I can't really tell you exactly when it was that I saw the shift in my business. It was somewhere after the year mark. But commit to give yourself 150% consistency and dedication to this business for at least a year, and see what a different place you are in a year from now, because I guarantee you'll be mind blown if you show up and you can do that. The next thing I want to mention, and it kind of goes back to me sharing a bit of my story in the beginning, which the things I shared are not always easy to share. The power of your story is so powerful. And if you are not sharing you are not setting yourself apart from anybody else in this business. And the way that I like to tell my new coaches this is that when you come in to this coaching business and you sign up as a coach, you are what I call a cookie cutter coach. You drink Shakeology, you do our workouts, you try to be positive, maybe you do your personal development. You do the same things that every other 450,000 coaches in this company do. The only thing that sets you apart is you and your story and what you have to share and what you bring into your business. And if you're hiding behind worrying what people think about you sharing who you are and what you've been through and the struggles you've overcome or the ones you're going through right now, you're not allowing people to really connect to you, because authenticity is the thing that truly allows people to emotionally connect to you. People are not just buying a fitness program and Shakeology from you, because they can go on the website, they can call an infomercial, they can flip on their TV at 7 o'clock in the morning when they're drinking coffee and see an infomercial, and they can call an order, and they don't care about having you as a coach. Why does somebody want your help? Why is somebody connected to you emotionally? That is only going to happen when you have the courage to put yourself out there and share your story. Not talking about writing a novel and sharing it all at one time, but breadcrumbing bits and pieces of you and who you are and things you struggle with and habits you've had to overcome, things that you're learning in your personal development. For me, I've shared a lot very openly about my health issues and my chronic pain, and how I've overcome taking medication and become athletic again. I've shared, about losing my dad and how hard that was for me to deal with. I've shared a bit about, going through abuse and becoming a single mom. Those are not things that are just easy to share. And there's been a lot of times where I write a post and I literally cringe as I push that post button. But I'll tell you what, the more vulnerable I've gotten in my posts, the more messages I get from people telling me that I've inspired them, that I've encouraged them, that they can, get through whatever it is they're going through, because it doesn't matter if people don't directly relate to what you're sharing. They relate to the emotions of it. People relate to shame. They relate to self-confidence and self-worth issues. They relate to failure. They relate to struggle. They relate to issues with consistency. Those things that you try to hide are exactly what is going to allow people to connect to you. So if you haven't started sharing authentically yet, what's that?
It makes you real. Like it makes you relatable, and like you said, emotions sell. Like facts don't do anything for people. You create an emotional stir in someone's heart. That's what they're looking for.
I always like to tell my team that people don't relate to perfection, and they don't relate to perceived perfection, because I sure know that I don't. I'm a very imperfect person, and when I'm people trying to be fake on social media that their life is perfect and they're always happy and whatever, it's BS. I don't relate to that. I shared a post tonight about how I procrastinated my workout all day because that's true. And how many people in my social media probably did the same damn thing and saw my post and said, well, she showed up anyways. The next thing that I wanted to mention is a little bit flip the switch here, but more geared towards building a team. And that's leading by example. And I want you to think about it like this, because I ask myself this all the time. If my coaches or if my team were to do exactly what I do every day, would they be successful? And be honest with yourself, because there is always areas that you can improve in no matter how far along you are in your business. I've been a coach for almost 26 months now. My team is an elite team. And I honestly sometimes feel like I have more growing to do now than I ever have before. Because now it's not just me focusing on my business, it's me leading other people to their goals, their visions, their dreams, working through the fears and bullshit self-confidence issues and stuff that they have to go through. So commit to that wholeheartedly. What, babe? Oh, another banana. Take it very seriously, this leadership role, because you literally have the power to change people's futures if you so look at it like that. And it begins with what you do. You not only have to lead by example and lead from the front. So show up, aim to hit Success Club in the first 2 weeks of the month. Be consistent on your social media. When you find something that's helpful to you, whether it's in your personal development book or it's a YouTube video or it's a training or a call, just like this, if there's something impactful that hits you, share that with your team. Share that with your coaches. Go and take that and use it and pour it back into the world. If you felt inspired or you found something that helped you, because guaranteed if it helped you, it can help somebody else. And that knowledge that you gain and you learn and you feel and that passion you have is not something you can keep inside you. That's exactly the opposite of what we're supposed to do with this business. And as leaders, we're supposed to pour that back into other people after we fill ourselves up first. With that said, two other things when it comes to leading a team. And I know I'm kind of all over the place, but these are things that I feel have been very helpful to me. So I just like to share them. I want you to know that no matter how pure your intentions are, no matter how great of a coach you are, no matter how great of trainings you have and all of these things, you're going to have a lot of people that come into this business that do nothing, that have these big goals and these big dreams, and you're so excited for them, and then they don't ever do anything, or they get in and they kind of wander, or they show up sometimes and they don't other times. And I can't tell you that's been one of the hardest lessons for me as a leader, is that I cannot do this for people. I cannot drag people. I cannot want it for them more than they want it for themselves. Your coach and your team, they want to see you succeed. But at the end of the day, like I said before, you are the one that has to show up and do the work, and your success depends on you. And the next thing that I want you to think about is that a lot of times, and I know this was the case for me, when I was a newer coach or a diamond coach, used to look up to leaders in this company or star diamond coaches and think, man, I could never be a leader like that, or they have so much more influence than I do, or they're just so much better than I am. And the thing is that there is no difference between you and anybody else in this business, even the top coaches, except for time and consistency. That is it. You can go wherever you want to go. It just depends on how clear cut you are on where you're going to take this. And I want you to remember this, that whether you only have one coach or one challenger underneath you, you are influencing somebody. So you are a leader. The day that you sign up as a coach and decide to become a business owner, you are a leader, because you are stepping out and stepping above a lot of these people that are too afraid to even try, because they're too concerned with what other people think. They're too concerned with other people that think this is a pyramid scheme, or it's a scam, or it's too good to be true, or they don't want to share on social media. You are already a leader the day you decide to sign up and run with this business. Don't let the rank and all those shiny things and your number in the company and all that stuff get in your head that you are not good enough and you are a leader, because you are here. And I truly believe that everybody that was brought to this opportunity for a reason. I don't think that there is anybody that is brought into this opportunity that is not meant to be here for a bigger reason than themselves, but only some have the courage to actually use that influence intentionally. and show up to do the work of what their potential actually is with this. So let me see if I missed anything.
Can you just tell us a little bit about how you manage your time?
Like I said, I am a procrastinator, and I've had to really learn to put my vital behaviors above all else. Because especially as you grow a team and you have a large team, there's a lot more people and there's a lot less you. And it's really easy to focus all your time on your coaches and your team and trainings and things like this and forget that the vital behaviors are actually what gets you somewhere in this business. So take all of the busy work and the fun work off the plate until you've done your vital behaviors for the day. That busy work is just a distraction that makes you feel like you're doing something to move forward when you're really not. If you're just designing pretty social media posts, or you're doing whatever, there's a million things. You're making a blog, you're posting on Instagram, you're doing all these things. If you're not showing up and doing the vital behaviors every day before all else, you're not going to go anywhere. If you do get your power hour done and your vital behaviors, and then you have extra time to do whatever else it is, great. Look at that as an added bonus. And eventually you will need to make time for those things. But when I started this business, like I mentioned, my son was a year old. I didn't have hardly any help then. So I worked my business late at night when my son would first go to bed at maybe 9:30. After I would get on a team call, and I would work typically until 1 or 1:30 in the morning when he woke up to nurse for the first time. And after he nursed, then I would go to bed. And I would work when he napped, or I would work out when he napped. And I just kind of had to, fit it in my day in various little places. I've never been somebody that sat down and just structured my time where it was like, I have this chunk right here to do it, because that's virtually impossible to me as a single mom, and it still is. I'm not the best person to talk about time management, because my MO is just kind of get shit done when you have the opportunity to, because with a crazy little kid running around and doing it all on my own, there is always a million things to be done. And sometimes, when I have something to do for my business, it may mean that my laundry has to wait till tomorrow, or it may mean that, whatever else it is that I have first if I want to go anywhere with it.
But I'm sure you work from a list, and you're intentional with the business.
I do what I do every single morning. I sit down and I make a to-do list for the day. And if you haven't read Eat That Frog, it's a great book, but that's where I learned to do this from. And I sit down in the morning and I write out the top 5 things or 3 things that I need to accomplish for the day. So I do my power hour, and then I get those top 3 things done first. And then, I have various other things on my list, and if I get to them, great. And if I don't, then they move to the list tomorrow. But whatever it is that has that sense of urgency, get those things done first, because those are things that are going to motivate you to do more, because you'll feel like, oh, wow, I accomplished this and I got it done. And I don't know about you, but I love checking things off of lists. I'm like obsessed with it. So if you need to work from a list so that you can gauge what you're actually doing, that's a great thing to do. Like I said, I hated business activity trackers like on paper or whatnot. So I got myself a little $8 whiteboard. I write everything on the side that I have. I have my Success Club points, my team page, my like page, adding to my network, Facebook posts, forming, follow-ups, check-ins, yada, yada. And as I go through it, I write my little checks so that at the end of the day, I can look and say, well, I still haven't read today, so I know that I need to do that tonight. But the biggest thing that I can tell you with time management is that you have to learn to use time effectively. I have so many coaches that come to me and say, Dana, I just don't have time. Or Dana, I don't know how to fit this into my schedule. And more often than not, it's because they are wasting time in other areas of things that they could be getting done faster, or things that, they're sitting and scrolling on social media for 45 minutes instead of doing a power hour. And it's not that you don't have time. It's just that you're not effectively making that time. Because everybody has time. I don't care who you are and what your life looks like. And like I said earlier on in the call, sometimes that's going to take sacrifices. I know that that can be hard when you have a family or you have a spouse or you have kids or whatnot. But if you have your vision shared with your family, I find that that's very helpful. I find a lot of disconnect with some of my married coaches whose husbands don't understand why they're on their phones all the time. You know, if they understand where they want to go with this business and the future that they see in it for their family, then they're a lot more supportive of why they're taking time to work on their business or get on calls or things like that. Trying to think if there's anything else when it comes to time management. I mean,
I think it just comes.
It's pretty simple. I make a list. I stick to the vitals, and anything else, you know, it's finding, for me, it's finding time gaps in my day. You know, it might not be when I plan to sit down and do my work, but if my son is happily playing and I see that he's busy for the next 20 minutes, I use that opportunity to go and check back on messages or post something in my team page or whatever else I have to do. Utilizing those time gaps is absolutely crucial to being able to make time for your business.
Well, I think that's key, because what I heard the last Super Saturday is that you have chunks and you have an hour. So if you can break up your chunks in 20 minutes throughout the day, if you're on your lunch break or whatever, break it up in chunks instead of having one block. You know what I mean? Chunks or blocks. So just as long as it gets done. And yeah.
The other thing too, I think that's been really helpful to me, and I don't know how many of you have teams, but having systems is literally critical for me. I have all of my scripts in my notepad of my phone. So explaining what the 21-day fix program entails and what the cost is, explaining Shakeology flavors, all my questions that I use when I'm forming in conversations about people's goals. All of those things I have saved to the note section of my phone so that when I need to quickly respond to somebody, I don't have to sit there and type everything out. Having a new coach welcome email, having a new challenger welcome email, having a system when you onboard coaches, things like that save you a lot of time and a lot of stress so that you can get in and get out and do what you need to do and be really effective with that time. Until I did that, I wasted a lot of time doing it one by one. So
and then
don't make it harder on yourself than you need to.
And then if you're a brand new coach and you're bringing people on, like, I pretty much did whatever Lindsay did until I was a diamond. And then until I had my team, then I started recreating stuff to make it my own and stuff like that. So don't feel like if you are a new coach and you don't have a team yet, but you are adding people to your team, that you have to go and recreate everything. Like, use your tools that's there until you're able to start recreating stuff. I mean, challenge groups are already laid out. I have a new coach welcome letter. You know, your upline has those things for you to use. So don't feel like you have to reinvent everything until you have to, until you have a team of your own and you start building a tribe of your own.
Well, and that really comes kind of down to another really good point, which is being resourceful. You know, I sometimes question myself as a leader if all the systems and things I have work for new coaches that I bring on, but the proof in the pudding is that I do have coaches that come on and they do use it and they are resourceful and they do start to have success. But a lot of people, you have all these things that your upline is providing you with, all these tools, all these ways, you know, to do things and systems to have. And just like Kelly said, you don't need to recreate that. That is why it's there. That is why we as leaders make those things for you to easily duplicate them. And when you have the time, make them your own, do them the way you want to do them. But don't make the mistake of having all those things sitting right there in your lap for you to use and not being resourceful with it.
I agree.
And the last two things that I
learned so much. And what matters is if you implement. Like, you can get all this knowledge and have all these files and have all these documents and have all this stuff, but if you don't actually put all that into action, then
it does nothing.
It's not going to do anything.
The last thing that I really wanted to share with you guys, and this is something that has been a huge, huge lesson for me, is don't overanalyze to paralyze. So don't overthink things so much that you literally paralyze yourself and you literally stop yourself in your tracks. If you are second guessing every message you send, every post you make, every little step you take, you are wasting so much time that you could be using to move yourself forward if you would just get out there and do it and fail forward. Honestly, my opinion on this is that people that are successful in this company are people that have failed way more than anybody else has, because you only learn in doing. You, just like Kelly just said, you can learn all these things, and if you don't, another banana? If you don't put action to them and use them and see how they work for you and what doesn't work for you, and then, you know, kind of revamp it as you go, and, you know, learn your wording and get used to having conversations and get better with your posts, then never get anywhere. So don't overanalyze to the point where you paralyze yourself from moving forward. And the last thing that I have on my page, I tell this to my team all the time too, is don't be somebody that looks for excuses, because we all have excuses of why it's hard to find time, of why, you know, it's hard to invite, or why it's hard to hit Success Club, or why whatever. Be somebody that looks for solutions, because the reality is that any obstacle you have, any struggle you have, that is an opportunity for you to overcome. It's an opportunity for you to evolve. It's an opportunity for you to learn and to grow as a person and as a leader. And then to pour that back into other people to help them on your journeys. And it's, you know, going back to the personal development really quickly, I don't look at personal development as just an investment in myself. I look at personal development as an investment in the people that I coach. I look at it as an investment in the people that I lead, because everything that I learned from that, you know, somebody will come to me with a problem or something they struggle with, and I have learned something from my personal development that allows me to better serve others. We'll give it off the table. So don't push personal development off. I was somebody that did that in the beginning. I was like, they're going to tell me that reading books is going to change my life. Like, what a joke. But it's true. You're never going to be able to progress as a person, and you're never going to be able to lead and help others to the best of your ability if you are not constantly working on bettering yourself first. I think that's all I have for you, Kelly.
I fully agree.
Done ranting.
Well, I really got a lot out of what you said, and I think a lot of coaches on this call, and we recorded it, so I'll share it in my team page. But yeah, a lot of good stuff, and I thank you so much for sharing your heart and your story with us. Does anybody have any questions real quick? I mean, we only have a few more minutes because we have to get ready for our coach webinar opportunity call. But if anybody has any questions for Dana, raise your hand. No? All right, lady. Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you. And I'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.